Okay, hello everyone. I believe I am live. Welcome, welcome. I'm just going to wait a few minutes for people to come on in for this very important topic about understanding the impact of COVID-19 vaccines with thyroid issues, like potentially triggering thyroid autoimmunity via the spike protein. So this is a very important topic, just like many topics are important. And I wanted to really bring this up because across the years, obviously since the pandemic, hey Linda, obviously since the pandemic, I have dipped into the research to see what's going on every so often, like every month in the beginning. Didn't see a lot. And then after several months, there was a little bit coming through, mainly about the actual virus, which is understandable. And then in 2022, June, suddenly some research started to pour in about some effects of the actual vaccine and the correlation between the vaccine with thyroid autoimmunity. And by the way, many other organs and body systems have been impacted, but clearly I'm going to be focusing on thyroid autoimmunity tonight. But, like what I say with many other things, like you can have a thyroid condition and then lots of other signs and symptoms. Our body doesn't just work in isolation. So, if something's going to be impacted, it's going to impact all areas of the body to some degree. All right. So, and then 1 year later, in all honesty, I hadn't looked for a little while. And then, like several weeks ago, I looked and went, oh, okay. So, here's some really good evidence, a review of the literature and a review of the research on the actual spike protein. I thought, okay, well, this is really, really interesting because as information unfolds, we're learning more and more and more. And this is why I thought, I just want to address the elephant in the room and just bring this to this channel because, I'm just suspecting that it's causing a lot of impacts to a lot of people within my field that I know and that I'm aware of. And, I always question, what correlation would the vaccination status have on their general health and well-being? And what would it have been like if they hadn't had the vaccine? Yeah, but then there's always two sides to the coin, isn't there? Because I also have clients that haven't had the vaccine and have thyroid autoimmunity and have recent triggers from various things. So we can't just kind of like black tar one area. This live training is about presenting the evidence so far. It's not designed to create fear or, stress or anxiety in any way or form. It's really designed for me to present the evidence. Now, this is not my opinion. This is the evidence that I'm reading, and I am reporting it as I'm reading it. So I'm going to be reading it very much, a lot of the evidence, like I've written notes, and I'm actually going to read a lot from as how I read it in the actual evidence. And I can certainly drop in the papers if anyone is interested in looking at that research themselves. So I'm going to be asking lots of questions along the way. Hey, Deb, lovely to see you here. And certainly if you're dropping in here this evening, let me know that you're here. Give me a heart. That was like a thumbs up or a heart. And let me know that you're here. If you're watching the replay, please do a hashtag replay. And let's just make this interactive. And you know what? Again, like I'm here to support you. And, if there is some way or form that you feel that you've been affected, whether it's through the actual virus, illness from the virus or the vaccine, and when I uncover the research, you'll see what I mean by that. Well, this is an opportunity for you to actually really feel into your health picture and do something about it. Because just because you've made a decision in the past that you realize may not have actually served you in the future, that's not the be all or end all. Because I'm a big believer, and my clients know this, of the intelligence of our body. Our body will always supersede and find a way out. It may take a little bit of time, but the body truly is on your side. Yeah, and I truly believe that this can be overcome. So it's not the be all or end all right? Okay, so let me just ask you a question. So first of all, I just want to ask you, actually, I'm going to ask this in a moment. I'm just going to let people come in first. I'll just check that I've got this here. Let's open up my notes. Okay, beautiful. All right, so this is what we're going to be covering tonight. So first of all, the topic, is your thyroid health at risk? Understanding the impact of COVID-19 vaccines and spike protein on autoimmunity. And we're going to define what the spike protein is and why it's a concern, particularly the artificial spike protein, which was developed to create the vaccine in super fast paced time, which is why this was rolled out so incredibly quickly. All right. So it's only now after the effect that they're finding that this artificial spike protein is potentially way more pathogenic than the actual real spike protein in the virus. Okay. All right, so we'll be diving into the research. Now, there is plenty of research and I didn't have to look hard. Like, it's actually on the mainstream research channels. It's, a couple of years ago, you couldn't, you had to really search, like you couldn't really find anything, but now it's on the main research channels. If you are concerned and you have a primary care health professional, I can certainly send you this research, or if there's something that you'd like to question with your GP or specialist or naturopath, if you're under the care of somebody else, this is something that they will be able to search very easily. It is thick, it is strong research that's out there. Okay, so I'm going to be going into two papers. One is a systematic review, and a systematic review is a high level of research because it's where the researchers actually scour through all the research channels and collate information about their topic. And from that, they actually provide statistics to actually show what the prevalence is. All right. So I'm going to be talking about one particular systematic review that collates all of the research, and that was published in June 2022. And then I'm going to be talking about a review article, which is actually, I was really, really pleased to read that it's actually from a team of Australian authors. And they've actually created a review which is specifically about the artificial spike protein and the effects and impacts that it's causing in the larger community, with all of the reports that are flooding in from vaccine injury. So I found that very interesting. And within that, there was a little published area of one control group, and I'll go into that as well, because it's really interesting to have a look if I thought there wasn't any control group, but there actually was one control group. And just to give you some definitions, a control group is a select group of people that did not undergo the treatment deliberately, so that could be studied as like a reference point against the treatment group. All right, so the treatment group being A, those who are vaccinated, and then the control group being B, those who are unvaccinated. So I found that really interesting, and I just wanted to present that because I thought, I was really surprised, because like, it's not like I spend all day every day, and certainly I don't have time to be scouring and researching all of this. I'm too busy with what's going on in the thyroid autoimmunity world. But when I actually dabbled here and saw that there was so much, I wanted to present this and bring this for your increased awareness. All right. So that's what this is all about. So if you have any questions along the way, please ask me in the channel. Please drop them in the comments, and I'll do my very best to answer them based on what I'm reading and what I've found in the research. And certainly, if you'd like to reach out and have a discussion, that opportunity, I'm always open for that. All right. So we'll be covering, I've just mentioned that, haven't I? I've explained. So you could be thinking, there could be many things. You could have like a post-viral type scenario where you've got flattened fatigues, you've got a thyroid condition. You may or may not know if you've got a thyroid condition. And you may just realize and feel that, you know what, since you've had the vaccines, you're actually feeling worse. All right. However, as I mentioned, we can't just say that it's, oh, well, that must be the vaccine. We can't just say that because there are many different things that it could be. However, this is about bringing awareness that this is something to look at. And this is for something for you to feel into, as opposed to, like there are many different scenarios. Maybe you've had a little gut instinct that, oh, maybe you shouldn't have the next shot, or maybe you shouldn't have had the last shot, or maybe that's enough for you. All right. Because what we know now, what they know now, not we, I'm not part of the team. What they know now is that, over time, and it's something that's kind of to me quite obvious, really, over time, the initial virus actually is less aggressive because all viruses mutate. They mutate, and upon each mutation, they're diluted. And that's just well and truly known for any type of cold virus, flu virus, anything, which is why, and this is not about bringing my opinion in, but I'm happy to share. Like, I've got nothing to hide. I've never felt comfortable about having a flu shot, so I've never had one. I never felt comfortable about having this COVID-19 shot, so I never had one. Am I anti-vax? No, I'm not anti-vax. I just didn't feel comfortable about having this particular vaccine because there was not enough research, and I felt like there was a real push and almost bullying and fear-mongering within the media to go and have it. And I just really felt into my body and thought, this could be disastrous. That's what I felt for me. That does not mean that that's the case for you, so please don't read into that. But for me, that's what I felt in my heart. I felt that this is not for me. All right. So, whatever's going on for you, I'm going to share with you that there is a way out of that horrible symptom picture that you may be suffering from. And certainly that reminds me, please, if you know of, after you've listened to this live training, if it resonates and if you feel that it's something that can help bring awareness to a family member, a work colleague, a friend, or anyone that you feel, could benefit from, some balanced information, because I am just reporting on the evidence that's come out in mainstream research channels. Please invite them into the group so that then they can make their own informed decision. And it might not be something I say, it might be something that they think, you know what, that's worth looking at. And it may be true for them or it may not be true, because we're not all the same. There's no one size fits all, which is why many people have not been affected by the vaccine. Okay? So that's true. Like, some people are totally fine. And then other people, there's been dire consequences. Just like medications. Some people can take a medication, be absolutely fine. Other people can take a medication and actually have dire consequences. Now, for me personally, if I take a Panadol, it actually impacts me. I wake up the next day and I've got puffy eyes, I'm foggy, and I feel revolting. I feel horrible. And that's a Panadol. So I know, I know that I'm sensitive to the impact of artificial stuff, synthetic stuff, probably why I'm a naturopath. You might be too, which is possibly why you're here. All right, so let's get on with it, shall we? All right, so, okay, so first of all, I would love you to pop it in the chat. Just type either 1, 2, or 3. So 1 is for if you're unvaccinated, however, you've been impacted by the COVID virus, right? So you've had about a COVID, and you've not really been the same since, right? So there's that scenario. So that's number 1. Number 2 is you've had the vaccination or multiple vaccinations, and you've also been impacted by the COVID-19 virus, right? That's number 2. Number 3 is you've been vaccinated or had multiple vaccinations, and you're suspicious that the vaccine has impacted your health in some way, right? Irrespective of whether you've also had the COVID-19 virus, because we know that, there are so many people that have had, so many people that have had the vaccine, but have also had the COVID-19 virus. I mean, that's just, it's just obvious. In fact, it's kind of like guaranteed, yeah? And there's a reason for that, and I'm going to go through that, all right? Okay, so first I'm just going to check that there's any comments. All right, no, just fire away, guys. Any comments, just fire away. This is presented here for you. All right, so first of all, let's just go through this level of research. So this systematic review is research on the vaccine and the impact on thyroid and the correlations between these two. So essentially, the study objective was to analyze the relationship between the COVID-19 vaccines, because there's multiple, as we know, and different thyroid disorders. And from that, what they found is the triggering of thyroid was mainly with thyroid autoimmunity and mainly Graves' disease, which is hyperthyroidism caused by thyroid autoimmunity. All right. Now, that doesn't mean that there wasn't impact with Hashimoto's. There absolutely was. However, most of the impacts were triggering to thyroid autoimmunity, hyperthyroidism, Graves' disease. Okay. However, most of the evidence highlights that the actual vaccine triggered, triggered thyroiditis. Okay, so subacute thyroiditis. Okay, so that is inflammation of the thyroid gland, even though there isn't actually a diagnosis of thyroid. So it's a triggering. So just like we know with Hashimoto's and autoimmune thyroid, that another trigger is if you've had the Epstein-Barr virus, or if you've had cytomegalovirus or Ross River fever, or any of those types of virus. I mean, viruses, and the actual vaccine, which is mimicking the virus, is actually well known now to be a trigger for these types of conditions. And that's why they actually presented this research, because what happened is there were reported cases. So, probably different health professionals reported the cases, and because they were kind of flooding in through different channels, researchers thought, okay, there's something going on here. Let's actually have a look and see what's going on. And, the vaccine has actually impacted many different areas of health. But as I mentioned, this is just really focused on thyroid. Excuse me for a moment. All right. Okay, so the methodology. So the methodology is, where they got the research from. They actually found 46 articles. So that's a significant amount of articles. Now, you might be shocked here. There were only 99 patients, right? Now, you might think, oh, well, out of the billions of people vaccinated, there are only 99 patients. Now, the skeptical mind of mine also realizes that maybe that's why this made the publication, However, the research part of me, the researching part of my mind understands that, it's only what's been reported. So how do we know what has actually not been reported? How do we know whether someone had an effect and they were actually unsure? How do we know that they didn't just put it down to the virus? And maybe it was the virus. Maybe it was both. How do we know? Yeah. So this is just on what was reported. It's a seemingly low number. However, anecdotally, there are so many cases. All you have to do is have some conversations, and you'll know that, it's when I ask someone, it's when you think back and you think, I haven't really been the same since that time, since that effect. Okay. And this is why it can be really, really hard to ascertain what the trigger is, because the findings also highlighted that these issues appeared anywhere between half a day to 60 days after the vaccine. And the average was 10 days. So you can imagine, like, some people are getting an effect half a day, and then other people, it's 2 months. So how do you know, right? It's not like and this is just, again, highlighting that everyone has a different body. There were different types of artificial vaccine. There are different companies. It was all made in a rush. So everyone has a different genetic makeup. So how do we know who's having a stronger impact than others? Okay. All right, so that's why probably it took a long time for all of this to start coming out. Okay, and then the autoimmune risks. So essentially, there is growing evidence. This is the June 2022 research article, the systematic review. So it's 2 years old now. There's nothing since then. That's the last systematic review to be done. So dare I say there will be more. All right, so the growing evidence of the spike protein's role, so the artificial spike protein in the vaccine's role in autoimmunity, and how it can attack the thyroid, and why this is important for those experiencing thyroid-related symptoms post-vaccination. All right. So then I just want to kind of like ask you this question. Like like you may have called it quits. You might have had 1 shot or 2 shots or 3 shots. Like I know family members of mine, they had 4 shots and they went, okay, now I'm done, right? Because that fourth shot was the thing that caused a trigger in something in their health. Okay. And then other people called it quits after 2, other people after 1, other people have just kind of kept going. So think back into your own health picture. What actually made you think, okay, that's enough. That's enough. I'm not getting better. I'm not getting worse either, but my health is not thriving. Maybe it's triggered some sort of digestive issue, some sort of heart issue. Like there's a huge correlation with heart issues, cardiovascular, can't even say that, cardiovascular diseases, like hypertension and, like blood clots and things like that. A huge correlation. Inflammation is huge in multi-organ and systems. Inflammation. All right. Okay, so any questions? 3. Okay, beautiful. Thanks, Shell. Wonderful. All right, so, I just lost my research. Here we go. All right. Okay, so I'm just going to now cover this. Oh, okay. So sorry, I also needed to say that the vaccine types that they correlated within this systematic review were, all these thyroid disorders were linked to Pfizer, the BioNTech vaccine, the Sinovac, the AstraZeneca, and the Moderna. Now, there were others as well, but these were the main ones. All right. And I'm not going into the nitty-gritty of anything. Again, if you'd like a copy of this systematic review, please type systematic review. I know we've got a couple of health practitioners in the house and you may be interested. Type systematic review and I'll be very, very happy to send this out to you. All right, now some definitions. I'm going to now talk about the spike protein. All right. So the spike protein, okay, it's in the vaccine, it's artificially made. In the real live virus, it's part of the virus, okay? The spike protein, hence its name, it's like the little hook. So it hooks onto the cell, it kind of bores a little hole and it pops in and then it starts to, I don't know, do its virus little thing, do its viral dance in the cell, right? That's what the spike protein does. Okay, so essentially it is part of the virus that actually causes the disease process. Okay, and it's, as I mentioned, it's called spike because it actually hooks on the surface of the virus, and that's what hooks into the cell. Okay, and from that it can actually then spread onto other cells. So that's how viruses work. So all viruses, they kind of look like they're aliens. Like if you actually look up, if you just Google any virus and then have a look at the pictures of them, oh my goodness, it's really interesting. Like they look really alien-like. You know, they've kind of got geometrical shapes. You know, they've got like hexagon type shapes with legs and little antenna things going up. I've always found that super interesting since studying this way back in my early naturopathy years. And, you know, like on the flip side, you've got bacteria and they're kind of like slimy and they're kind of like, you know, they squeeze in and out and they've just got different type of shapes and they kind of look really organic, you know, organic matter. Whereas, you know, viruses really look alien. They actually look like they're not from the planet as well. And, you know, for anyone who actually follows, I'm just tangenting here, for anyone who actually follows Dr. Bush, he actually talks about, you know, viruses are actually part of the ecosystem of human biology where they're designed to help upgrade our tissues. And he's done a lot of research on that. He's actually one of the smartest men on the planet. And he's done a lot of research on that. And I find it really fascinating because it kind of makes sense that as we evolve, how are our tissues and the technology within our body supposed to evolve without some sort of interventional mechanism? So if you kind of see that the viruses are alien-like, maybe they're some kind of designed to actually come into our host tissue and upgrade us so that we can then evolve with other things that are going on, like dealing with environmental toxins, etc. Anyway, that's another topic, and it's super interesting. And it's a hypothesis, but you know, that's where all ideas come from. They start off as hypotheses before the research mounts. All right, so getting back to spike protein. So, oh, okay, where are we? Okay, so excuse me, let me get my notes organized. Oh, hang on a minute. Okay, what does it do? Okay, so I've mentioned that what it does. Okay, we're all over that. So the vaccines and the spike protein. So some COVID-19 vaccines, like the mRNA vaccine, that's the Pfizer and Moderna, they use a blueprint that tells your body to make just the spike protein. So this is the artificial intelligence that has actually fast-tracked this rollout, this, you know, campaign, this vaccine campaign. Now, your immune system sees the spike protein as something foreign and dangerous, and it creates antibodies to fight it. So that's the reasoning behind it. This way, if you get exposed to the actual virus later, like the real virus, your body already knows how to fight it off because it recognizes the spike protein. So that's the theory behind it. The concern is that while vaccines teach the body to make make and fight the spike protein, the experts are now looking at the possibility that the spike protein or artificial spike protein itself may be causing problems in certain people. Okay, so for example, it doesn't just stay in one place. They know now that it spreads far and wide. It spreads far and wide from the site of injection to the whole body, to many different organs and systems and functions. All right. Indy. Okay, I've got my dog in here and she's restless. Settle down. Okay, settle down. Good girl. All right. Okay, so and via its movement in other systems and organs, it can create autoimmune reactions. Okay, so that's the big concern with this artificial spike protein. So tissues that have typically been impacted are your thyroid, your heart, and your brain. Okay, interesting. It's interesting. Now, way more than that, but this is what is really mounting in the research. And the actual harm is now referred to as spikyopathy. All right. meaning that there's an illness caused by the spike protein itself. So in short, the spike protein is a crucial part of how the virus infects people, and vaccines use it to train the immune system. However, some are concerned that it contains cases, that in certain cases, the spike protein may also cause health problems by triggering inflammation and autoimmune reactions. Okay, so that's just a little bit about spike protein. Okay, and I wanted to read it from the source that I actually read it so that you can see that I'm not giving it any bias or opinion. This is actually what the researchers have found. Now, I'm going to jump to the second research paper, which was the research done in, or the review done in June 2023. The research was on spikiopathy, COVID-19 spike protein, and its effects. And this is the Aussie authors. So this was actually published here in Australia. And yeah, I found it really, really interesting. So what they've found through their research is the spike protein is toxic, right? So whether it is the natural spike protein from the SARS-CoV-2 virus or this artificial spike protein produced in the mRNA vaccines, either or, it is considered pathogenic. So this is why they've termed it spikiopathy, coined to describe the harmful effects caused by spike protein. So then you may argue, what is safer? Now that we know that when viruses mutate, they lose their impact and effect, especially when your immune system and the innate intelligence of your immune system begins to recognize and understand and mount a response. So what is, so when we look at risk-benefit ratio, whilst at the very beginning, when apparently people were dropping like flies at the very, very beginning, like I'm talking, December 2019, since then it would have mutated and already started to lose its effect and impact over time. So that now, why would you get a booster if now the research is clearly saying that the spike protein, the artificial spike protein, is toxic and it's quite dangerous. So, to me, it's very clear in the evidence that, of course, you would want to really improve your innate immunity, improve your own blueprint, improve your immune system to fight the virus naturally, as opposed to having a spike protein that actually replicates, mounting a response, causing inflammation in many different organs and tissues. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, super interesting. So the spike protein, whether from SARS-CoV-2 or produced from the vaccines, is considered pathogenic, all right? So the inflammatory properties are largely thought to be from the lipid nanoparticles. So if there is an artificial spike protein, it has to be housed in something, like they have to put it in something. So what they do is they put it in a lipid, which is a fat nanoparticle. A nanoparticle is, nano, like extremely tiny, like you can't even see it with a naked eye, so that it can really get into the cell. And because it's lipid, I haven't actually read this anywhere. This, to me, it makes sense that that's why it would potentially be harmful and impacting the thyroid tissue, because the thyroid tissue is very fatty. And that's why there's a lot of impact to the brain as well, because we've got high lipid content in the tissue and architecture of those particular organs. So, if you think then that if a spike protein is sitting in a lipid nanoparticle, that fat little nano microscopic particle is then going to go into the fat spaces of your organs and tissues. Does that make sense? So that's kind of, my thought on that. Because, like, why does it go to thyroid and not to kidney? And it probably does go to kidney. It's just that there's mounting evidence with thyroid. Like, it's popping up everywhere. Like thyroid impact, not just from the spike protein artificially, but also from, the actual virus, which says that there's actually a very strong relationship between this particular, virus and, whether it's, however it was actually, wherever it came from. I don't know. She's not going to say too much there, but wherever it came from, it has a kind of like an affinity with the thyroid gland and the heart tissue as well. All right. All right. Biodistribution. So studies now show that the mRNA and DNA codes used in the vaccines can distribute widely throughout the body, potentially affecting organs far from the injection site, including the heart, thyroid, and nervous system. Right, so you think of all the nervous system impacts, foggy brain, memory deficits, and the list goes on there. Not going to go into that picture. That's a different one altogether. All right. Then the autoimmunity risks. So one significant concern is the autoimmune responses that are seen to be triggered by these artificial foreign spike proteins within human cells, okay, which are triggering autoimmunity in general and autoimmune thyroid disorders. So it could be the case that you already had a thyroid issue or a thyroid concern or a thyroid diagnosis. And since having the injections, you've found that your autoantibodies have gone sky high, right? Now, that to me would be a correlation, not the only correlation, but it would certainly be something to look at, 100%. How many vaccines did you have? What were your signs and symptoms around that vaccine? Did you then shift and get COVID because of that vaccine? Or was it just like a fluke? What is it for you? Just drill down into your own health picture. I'm not going to sit here and say that because you've had the vaccine, you're at risk. Absolutely not. We've all got completely different genes. We all carry our health getting tongue tied. Our health is unique to you. Your health is unique to you, right? And the impacts on your health are unique to you. All right. So some people are going to have ill effects and other people are going to be fine. All right. However, it's not all doom and gloom, because there are certainly things that you can do. Because if your body is impacted and your tissues are inflamed, there is so much that you can do from a natural perspective that can actually help to halt that inflammation and that inflammatory cascade. And that is really drilling down into your health picture. You don't get off scot-free. You're going to have to do some work. Yeah, and that's going to be part of your journey. And, it's not about, oh, I shouldn't have taken that. Because at the time, there was so much fear-mongering going on. I mean, what else were you to do? I mean, unless you were acutely aware or a health professional that really understood your body, the chances are that you just went along with the crowd, because that's what was actually reported and that was what was in the media. And, who are you to know any different, and who is anyone to know any different? But over time, what happens, and this is with everything, this is with every single mass production pandemic type situation, over time you look back and you go, oh, okay, well, it wasn't as bad as what we originally thought or what they originally thought. And the risk benefit ratio is actually different, like potentially even like a year down the track when the vaccines were dished out, that the actual virus was nowhere near as pathogenic. So you potentially would have been safer to not have had it, all right, potentially, if you're having ill effects since having it. All right, again, not anti-vax, not one size fits all, just stating what has actually come up in this research on a term which is now called spikyopathy. All right, it's only called that because they're seeing the correlations of the artificial spike protein from the vaccine. Okay. All right. And point number 5, so prolonged presence of mRNA and spike proteins. This is the kind of red flag that's actually really worrying me. You know, this next point is really worrying me. I'm very concerned about this. So it is that the synthetic mRNA from vaccines, along with the spike proteins produced, may persist longer in the body than initially expected, raising concerns about prolonged immune responses and potential tissue damage. So then you could argue that, what is the real threat? What is the worst threat? Is it the artificial spike protein in the nanoparticle, which is potentially causing the toxic effects? Or is it the spike protein from the naturally occurring, if it's natural, virus? All right. So which one? So then, you could just listen to this now and you could be thinking, you know what, something hasn't felt right. I've had this little inkling, and this is for you to just start asking questions, do some research, reach out to me. I'm happy to present you some research, reach out to other people, have some conversations. Because it's not about who was right and who was wrong. That's just futile. Who cares? It's not about that. It's about what's going on for you, how it's impacting you, and most importantly, what you can do about it now. And that's why I'm bringing this live training into this channel, because it feels right. It feels aligned, and it feels like, I feel like I have to say something. I feel like I have to say something, especially when there's so much evidence now. A year ago, or even 2 years ago, there was just scanty evidence, and it was really, really difficult to find. And I didn't feel confident in talking about it in this way because, at the time, there was just not enough information. But it seems now that there is a lot of information, so it's worth looking at. And it's certainly speaking to your health professional about it. And if they don't know about it, presenting them some research. All right, so point number 6. Okay, so this is kind of what we know. It's already been reported in the media for quite some time now, and that's the impact on myocarditis, pericarditis, and thrombosis. All right, so there's a lot of evidence linking the mRNA vaccines to conditions like that, especially in younger males. That's what's come through, and dare I say, it's gone spread much wider than that. Okay, so the interaction between this spike protein and the tissue cells, the body cells and tissues. All right, so now I just wanted to talk about this control group because I was really, really, it was kind of exciting to read it because I didn't think there was a control group, as I mentioned. And this was in the article by the Australian authors, which was the research review article on spikyopathy in June 2023. And this study found a control group. So in the beginning, there would have been plenty of placebo, and you wouldn't have known, like they had placebo. It's just, because actually the rollout of the vaccine was initiated as the trial because they didn't have time to do trials. They didn't do any clinical trials. So it's like the rollout was the trial. And initially they did most likely have placebo, and then due to ethical concerns, they just kind of just rolled it out. They went, you know what, we're just going to just give it to everyone, so then there was no control group. But there was a control group, okay? And it's the only control group, okay? So this is 18,497 unvaccinated individuals between September 21 and February 22. And this study provided insight into the COVID-19 outcomes for the unvaccinated population. Obviously, it's a small subset population, which is rare given the loss of the control groups in most of the clinical trials, right? So here are the key findings. That 25.1% of participants tested positive for COVID-19. Of those infected, 14.4% experienced mild symptoms, 8.7% had moderate symptoms, and only 2% experienced severe symptoms. So this is the unvaccinated population, which is 18,497 in this particular control group. Now, back when, and when, like, seriously, you're going to die. Like, my dad came up to me and said, look, you better get this shot because you're going to die. Like, seriously, that's just how strong the information was being dished out. And I said, I'm not going to die. What are you talking about? I'm not going to die. Anyway, that was just, we all had some argy-bargy in the family. I'm sure we did. That was so opinionated. It was just like a very stressful situation, whatever your beliefs or thought patterning was. It didn't matter which side you're on, even if you call it a side. I don't even call it a side, but wherever your opinion lied, there was stress. And the impact of stress, guess what? That is also a major impact of Hashimoto's, Graves' disease, autoimmunity. So, where is the line drawn? This is just one area that I'm presenting to you. Anyway, let me get back to this control group. All right. So 2% experience severe symptoms, and only 1.4% of those infected required hospitalization, with 0.4% being hospitalized for more than 1 week. Right? That's the evidence. They're the key findings for this unvaccinated control group population, which is the only one in the world, by the way, the only one. So thank goodness there's at least one. All right, so the implications were that the unvaccinated cohort reported lower rates of severe illness than expected because, everyone was going to die, right? Challenging the common perceptions of vaccine efficacy in preventing severe disease. Many of the unvaccinated participants used supplements like vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, quercetin, and in some cases, off-license ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine. And for those of you who know, that used to be an over-the-counter medicine that you could get. It's actually an anti-malaria medicine. It was easily available at any point in time. And as soon as this information came in that there were some population groups that were actually popping some ivermectin pills, guess what the government did? They ruled it out. You couldn't get it anymore. All right, so it just became available on the black market, if you can call it that. So how interesting is that? So these people, they actually, they did have a treatment plan in place. Natural vitamins, except for the hydroxychloroquine. That's not natural. It's actually a medicine. It's an anti-malarial medicine. But yeah, vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, and quercetin. What do we know about these vitamins and minerals? That actually help to improve your immune system, your innate immune system. They actually help to prevent autoimmunity. They help to quench free radicals. They help to detoxify. They help to boost your glutathione. So guess what? This brings me to my viewpoint. If you're feeling that you may be impacted by the vaccine in some way or form, there is a protocol that you can take. There is things that you can do to really up-level your health and wellness from the grassroots level. I would actually be working with you exactly the same way that I work with clients that are unvaccinated, exactly the same way, because I would be looking at what are the symptoms at hand, what's going on for you. Is your immune system just not rebooting? Is it just flatlined, like just not rebooting? It's kind of like stuffed. Well, I'd be working with you on that, at grassroots level. And what do? We do exactly what we do with every other client. We look at the evidence of what's going on for you. And how do we do that? Functional testing. Functional testing will tell the picture in black and white with what's actually going on for you. Not whether you've had the vaccine or not how many doses you've had, what's actually going on in your body right here and right now. So there's a way out. So what I'm now going to recommend to you, that if you feel that in some way of Oh, there's a poor connection. Oh, I've just found out there's a poor connection. Okay, never mind. We've got the recording. We've got the recording, Linda. So what I'm going to now say is, okay, I'm just reading some questions. Just excuse me for a moment here. I'm just finding some information here. Systematic review. Okay, unfortunately, I had the COVID vaccines due to being bullied and probably ignorance. That's okay, Linda. That's totally fine, Linda. You know, this could relate, absolutely, aches and pains, yeah, totally. You know, and that's what we work on. The other Linda, reading research regarding humoral and cellular immunity, vaccines are generally not effective and are in fact harmful. Well, it seems to be the case for this particular one, absolutely, Linda. I totally agree with you. Yeah, apologies if this is a poor connection, but guess what? I'm not surprised. And I have this recorded, so it will be available for replay in any case. All right, so here's the thing, like if you feel that you've been impacted in any way or form, I'd love you to just type in the comments, trigger. Type in the comments, trigger. Okay? And, you know, I'll reach out to you and we can have a conversation to see how you can negate this particular trigger. And it may be just that it's been wrapped up in some other trigger. There might be some other underlying root causes, and this has actually been a trigger, or it may not be, or it just might be worth taking a look. And I'd be very, very happy to point you in the right direction. And, you know, should you wish to come and work with me to unravel your complex health issue, of course, we can do that as well. Yeah. So if you would like, you know, someone to talk to bounce off some ideas with what's actually going on for your health specifically, you know, you're welcome. Come into my world and, you know, we'll sort it out together, and just type the word trigger. All right, that's it from me. I'm going to jump off now. I know there's poor connection. Thank you so much, Linda, for jumping on. And for everyone who's jumped on, please, you know, watch the replay, because I understand there's a poor connection. And watch the replay, and please ask any questions. And if you'd like some research, I'm happy to pass it on to you, because you know what? At the end of the day, information is gold. Information is key. You know, it's not about fear. It's not about, you know, like Linda's saying, you know, maybe this in hindsight, it could be a trigger. You know, like your body has the innate intelligence, Linda. Absolutely. Your body, and I know because, you know, Linda, you know, everything's improving. Everything's improving for you. So, you know, the body will come back. You know, it will recalibrate. It has that innate intelligence. Sometimes it just needs a little helping hand. All right. And it's all rooted in nature. It's all rooted in a naturopathic conscious living framework. All right, so that's it from me. I hope you found this interesting. I hope I didn't offend anyone. It wasn't designed for that, and I certainly don't. I certainly hope that there hasn't been any fear that's initiated, and if there has been, just reach out to me. You know, I'm very approachable, and we can have a conversation about it. All right, then, that's it from me. Bye for now.